Okay, this is going to be a quick video about the middle eight of James by Pat Metheny. The thing about James is there's a lot of chords, and especially on the I real B they're all squished up, so they're hard to read. But this relates very closely to what I've been thinking about a lot recently, which is this kind of Baroque classical harmony sort of stuff. And I've been reading a lot about that and playing around with these things called, these books on something called Partimento, and they give you loads of nice licks that people might have used back in the 18th century to write pieces of music and improvise pieces of music, because they all improvised as well. So that's really cool. So I've been having a lot of fun playing around with that. But it did make me think of James, which has got this very characteristic type of harmony in it. So the harmony James goes... I'm talking about the bridge here, obviously. Kind of thing. So we're not going to worry about the end. That's just 6, 2, 5, 1, which is not really that interesting. But the rest of it could pose a problem if you're used to looking at 2, 5, 1s, which is going to be a repeated theme here. You know, the idea of tonal harmony is not actually just 2, 5, 1s, so there's quite a lot more to it. So look at this. Going on there, where we look at the bass line, this is a bass line oriented harmony, which is where it starts to be a little bit like classical harmony, because classical harmony is constructed from the bass upwards, right? Bass line is as important as the melody, if not more so. So in this music we're going, I mean certainly for Baroque music, but as it turns out probably for Mozart's era as well, even though we think of Mozart as being primarily a melodic composer, and people did learn from figured basses, you know. So anyway, this is going to be A sharp going to B, and then it's C sharp going to D, then it's E sharp or F going to F sharp, G sharp going to A. Now, this is all like what we might call an approach or lower neighbour tone. Okay, so that is kind of coming out these sorts of licks. You might find, Django playing or whatever. So there's just that in bassline form. So it turns out that if you want to tonicize or target any chord, then one way you can do this is by playing a first inversion major chord with the bass note, not the root, the bass note, a semitone below the target chord's root or bass. So in the 18th century they didn't think about chords having inversions. They just thought either it's a 5-3 chord, in other words, a root position major or minor triad, or whatever kind of triad it is, or a 6-3, which is the first inversion chord, or a 6-4, which is like a second inversion chord. So they wouldn't have thought about it from the point of view of it's chord inversion. And actually, in some ways, it's a really good way to think about things, because not all the chord inversions have the same function. Okay, so the function of the first inversion really is to move by step. That's what it's really good at. But I mean, if we just think about the sort of modern day chords, it would be F sharp major, B minor, and that would be A major going to, or A7 depending, going to D major, and so on. But because we're thinking about the root, or sorry, the bass, not the root, the bass movement like that, creates a much more interesting sound. And what's going on here is we have these four key centres, each a diatonic third apart. So we start on B, then we go up to D, and then we go up to F sharp, isn't it? Yeah, and A, and they're a third up each time. Sorry, it's G sharp, isn't it? Is it G sharp? No, G natural in this case. Though we are playing G sharp in the chord. The key is actually B. So these little chromatic, come in semitone below each time. We're certainly over that. We can just use our ordinary kind of 2-5-1 lick. So we go. Although I think like maybe if it was Metheny, it'd probably just be using more triads. Or even, sorry, it's a little bit bright there, even down here. I suppose the thing to do would be to it's obviously to practice them in position. So, and then maybe obviously this. Obviously, you need to do that in order to get fluent through the tune. But that's you know. Without leaping around, or maybe you know, you can get into that, which is fine. The next part of it is basically what we call the rule of octaves, or the rule of the octave, should I say, in sort of 18th century music. So that is really, we go from this chord, which is on the 5 of the key, the D, which is a straight A major triad, very guitaristic. And then we play that beautiful third inversion, which is one of my favourite moves in the world. And of course, I think this is probably familiar to Matheny through pop music, you know, particularly things like you know, this kind of stuff, this kind of White Room by Cream or whatever. But I mean, you know, in terms of so he does on Bright Side's Life goes to B flat major. Well, in this case, he keeps it diatonic, and he goes. He moves to a first inversion, or F sharp 6/3 chord, or a D first inversion with a D major with a F sharp on the bass. That's nice. So that is actually what Handel would do. You know, that kind of thing. It's very choral, and that really is just like. And then goes. You know, you get into the 3-6-2-5 at the end. So that's just a 5-1 really. But they didn't think of it back in the 18th century. They didn't think of it that way. And I have to say, there's a big difference in the feeling between this and this. Don't you think? There's a difference between and this beautiful voice-led kind of. One is stable and the other one still wants to move somewhere, because we ended up on that inversion. And it relates to something that Peter Bernstein's talking about. It says, like, don't play an inversion unless you want to hear an inversion. Root position chords and inversion chords don't have the same function. And this is recognised in classical theory, you know, in the era, common practice era, in part because those chords did not have the same names, and therefore they did not even have the same functions as chords. And actually, I found out getting my head around that and not thinking about inversions of major and minor chords really helps me with harmony, because I'm no longer thinking about, oh, it's a, you know, a major chord in first inversion, and it's a 6th chord. A 6th chord does this, and it moves in this way. You know, for example, a 6th chord wants to resolve from a 7th to another 7th. You know, whatever. Or maybe it will just go to the tonic. That kind of thing, or, you know, coming down from sorry, what would that be? That kind of thing, right? I'm not thinking about them as chords anymore. I'm thinking about them as collections of intervals and voice leading, and that is kind of interesting to me, because I kind of want to take my playing in that direction. I'm better with playing, you know, here's a grip, here's another grip, here's another grip, here's another grip. It sounds kind of disconnected, and I think, although I don't necessarily think I'll end up writing common practice music or improvising Baroque fugues, I think that way of thinking will hopefully influence my, you know, my comping. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. Hope you found that useful. I'll do a few more videos based on the same sort of thinking. Take care, and hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.